What up, everybody?
Not only looking at GPM system and doing it there, but
Yo,
double checking myself along the way.
Yo, yo,
That's
yo.
how I know that you have.
How's everyone doing?
Dude, I'm doing phenomenal. Phenomenal. The boys are ripping. The vibes are high in this office.
Sir.
We switched the playlist to 90s rap to worship music, and I think that's helping the closing percentage. Fueled
Hey,
by the
there you go.
Spirit.
Bless the air real quick, man.
Absolutely. Bro, shout out to a couple people on the submit. If Ian's on here, dude. Ian did 22K last week. Huge. Carson, are you on here?
Yo, yo,
Carson, what'd you do last week?
16.5.
16.5. Bro, share a couple quick tips for everybody that allowed you to have a great week.
I don't know. I was working from home the last 3 weeks in a row. I don't even know how I did it, but just work the leads, man. Use the systems that your leaders have put in place, and just it's all up here. It's all in your head.
Brother, that's it.
Just flip that switch, baby. That's all you got to do.
Just work the leads and keep it simple. You couldn't have said it better.
Yep. Keep it simple. Dial, voicemail, text, whatever you got to do.
Bro, I've always said if everybody can just focus on going, if we could all focus on going to work and just doing the work and doing what we're supposed to do, we're all going to make a lot more money, be a lot more successful, and help a lot more families. So I love it. All right. Really quick before we introduce our guest, Claudia is going to raffle off all the first-time writers for last month here in a sec. But I do want to announce our couple things where number one, our agent incentive for the month. So if everybody can see my screen, guys, we're bringing out the top 3 producers are for October, issue paid. They're going to F1, baby. They're going to F1. So drop an emoji in the chat if you're gunning for the top 3 issue paid producers for October, and you're going to be at F1 with me. And it's going to be a whole deal. We already got the B&B reserved. We already got the tickets purchased. We'll get a team workout in. I'm going to have Ryan with me the entire time. So we're going to get a ton of photos, video, bunch of content. You'll be posted on social media. We'll hit up the Dragon's Lair gym. We'll get dinner. It'll be a good weekend. So looking forward to having you guys out there. Another thing for November. So here in exactly a month, we got the Pinnacle Tampa Sales Conference down here in Tampa, Florida. So mark your calendars for that. We're gonna have a bunch of great speakers. I was on the phone with Nick Alfano last week, and we're having Nick Alfano come out and speak at this conference. So I was telling a few of our guys, if you guys are at a lot of you guys are at the Chicago conference. For those that missed it, you guys missed out on a phenomenal conference. That was legitimately, I think, the best conference we've ever had. The vibes were high. The energy was high. Dude, every single person that went up to speak was just speaking sauce. Absolute sauce. We didn't speak like, dude, we basically did no mindset, which it is but like everything was super tactical, which I love. I love the tactical stuff of like exactly how it was literally a playbook of, hey, this is the clear path to become a millionaire in 3 to 4 years of like, do exactly these things. So ton of great knowledge was dropped. We have even more people registered for the Tampa, Florida conference. So I'm confident this one's going to be even better. So hope to see you guys out here for that. So that's going to be November 3rd. Claude, if you could drop that in the chat. So get your plane tickets preferably now because they're just going to get more and more expensive. And then following that, we're doing our next lock-in here in the Tampa office. We're doing the lock-in November 4th through the 7th. And then, well, the 4th through the 8th, technically. So it's the 4th through the 7th we're going to be selling. And then we're going to be doing a team bonding event that 8th on the Saturday. So if you guys are booking plane tickets, plan to fly in that Sunday to Sunday. So plan to fly in the 2nd and then fly out the 9th. Anything else on that you want to add, Claudes?
Nope, I'm dropping a link in the chat now to register. If you're ever curious to know what's going on, what's coming up, if you go to the Pinnacle Life Group, and you click events, it's going to show you. So you're going to scroll down, you'll see the Tampa Summit Series right here. And then you can just RSVP there. That's all I really had on that.
I love it. All right, well, we got some shit to give away.
All right, let me share my screen. And if you have a friend who's not on this call, who you know is a newer writer, you better text them right now, because if I land on their name and they are not here, I am moving. All right, here I go.
Let's get it.
I feel like this is so much
Please.
pressure.
Uh,
Adam. We have Adam on the.
where are you at, bro? Where are you at?
Oh no, I just searched. I don't see an Adam unless he's Zoom user. I don't see Adam.
I see David freaking out. David, are you with Adam?
No.
Oh, yeah, I think that, and are you, I don't know if you're going to cancel out for Trace.
Unmuted.
Yo, whoever's unmuted, please mute yourself.
I muted Sebastian.
Too bad I'm not in the office. I sit right next to him.
Rip. Rip. Okay. All right. Moving on.
They text Adam to be like, "Hey, bro, you just missed out on a brand new map."
Adam just finished signatures for a $400 a month deal, but he's on the call and he was watching and celebrating. He's there.
No, I searched his name. He wasn't there.
All right. Well, the whole
Rules are the rules. Sorry, bro. Respin that sucker. Respin that sucker.
At least a $400 a month deal, he can buy his own. Jack? We
Jack,
have Jack?
where's he at? Jack, you better be on here, bro.
I don't see him. I
No.
don't see him. Milo, get your agent.
All right, respinner again. We'll do this all day. It's like it's only about 10 agents. If I was brand new, I'd be on here. You got a pretty high likelihood of winning.
Christopher Noah Gandley. Do we have Chris?
Yeah, that's me. What's up?
Third time's
Why
the
does he
charm,
have-
baby.
Yay!
My dog.
Yes, sir.
Why does he like not sound hype? It's okay.
Where's he at? Pin him real quick.
I gotta find him. Chris. Oh, you go by Noah. Sorry, I was looking for the wrong name.
Nah, yeah, you're good.
What did I
Yeah,
just
real
do?
quick.
Hey. He's there. Okay.
Hey, yo, Noah, what's going on, brother? Give a shout out. Who do you work with?
So I work with Chase. He's my manager upline.
Yep.
Chase and Tio.
Okay,
So-
don't bring up Kristen there. The
Yep.
disrespect. All
Shout out
right.
to the
What do you
Stanford
prefer?
boys.
Do you need a new computer? Or do you need some money for some leads?
Yeah, no, I guess I'll take the computer.
Okay. Your camera quality doesn't look that great. I was gonna say the same thing. I'm just kidding. That was mean.
Savage. Noah, real
Text
quick.
you with some details.
Noah, what were you doing before this?
I actually just got out of college, and yeah. So
Congrats, brother. Well, last question for you. What's one thing you're thankful for?
I'm really thankful for my family. They're super supportive of me. So without them.
I love it, brother. I love it. Well, congratulations.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Without further ado, we got to pin our guest up in here. Kelly, where you at?
Kelly.
Right here.
Let's go,
Yo.
bro. Dude, you're looking, dude, I gotta say, I saw you in the gym not too long ago. You're looking more cut, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Road to
that's-
225 right now.
Let's go. You've been putting in the work. I like that home setup as well. So,
Thank you.
Kelly, most of us on this call know who you are, but for those that don't, how long you been in the business for? What'd you do last month? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. So been in insurance for 2 years. Last month we did 47,000 is she paid, spent about 62,000. And in the 2 years of being in the business, I actually calculated it last night. I'm at like 1.3 million is she paid for 2 years in. So pretty stoked about that for sure.
Dude, let's go. Give a shout to Jesse. Written over $1 million. Issue paid premium, bro. Dude, somebody was just telling me the other day you did 100K last month, and I was like, that was. I'll be
That
honest,
was in July. That was I want to
July.
do. We're on the road and journey to 100K issue paid in life, but the
Alright.
closest we were at was
82.
I
Uh-oh.
think. Oh,
You're cutting
okay. I
out.
see you now. I think we're good.
You said the biggest month so far is 82K, huh?
82K IP.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's certainly nothing to scoff at. That's certainly nothing to scoff at. So share us with us. You're starting into this first 90 days. Did you pick it up right away? Was it a quick process, or did it take a little bit to get some momentum?
Yeah, it took a lot. It took a lot to get some momentum. I mean, most everybody knows my story in the company. Failed the test 19 times, right? So it took me a whole year and a half to actually get licensed. And when I was licensed, I was working 3 different jobs, living paycheck by paycheck. And so I was like only able to work like 5-10 hours a week for insurance. And for 2 months, that was pretty much my schedule. Just whenever I got a chance to call leads, when one call closes, book them out, run my presentations. And so it took me about August of 2023 to finally be full time. And as I got deposits in, kept the money in the business so I can be full time.
Yeah, guys, Kelly talked really fast. So just in case you didn't get that, because most of us on here don't know his story. I do, which is why I said that. Guys, he failed the test not 4 times or 5 or 7 or 10. No, he failed the test how many times?
19. Failed at
19.
19.
So it's like, think about of like, all right, dude, I failed it for the 3rd time. Should I retake it? And then the 7th, and then the 11th, and then he's on a try 7. Dude, took my dog a year and a half to get his exam. So shout out to you, brother. Went from that to written over $1 million in issue paid premium over his insurance career. So that's a testament to just, dude, what was going through your mind when you were on the 16th, 17th, 18th try of the exam? Were you just like, were you like, hey, I'm not gonna give up, or were you thinking about, all right, if it hits 20, I'm gonna throw in the towel?
So about like the 12th to 15th time failing it, like it got to the point where even my dad was like, hey, son, I'll put you in trade school for free. You can be a licensed electrician. Insurance isn't for you. And even my friends started chirping at me saying that too. And it got to the point where like I had to delay taking the test because I couldn't even afford the $50 to schedule it. So I had to take like a couple weeks off, get paid, use my paycheck for the test. But honestly, bro, I was wanting to prove people wrong. You know, I dropped out of college and I wasn't the most popular, right, in college, things like that. I was kind of the underdog. And so I kind of took that mentality for the whole year and a half to pass the test just to prove people wrong. And then even when I passed the test, got licensed, it was still proving people wrong to this very day, you know? And now to have my father call me and him talk about business all the time. He owns an electrical business, a very successful one out in Kentucky. So it's definitely a full circle moment for sure.
Yeah. So there's your mindset lesson for the day of, hey, don't give up. But
Yeah.
I want to transition, and I want this call just to be super tactical and
Yeah.
give people the knowledge and different tips and tricks that they can apply to their business.
Yes.
Kelly, one thing I've noticed with you is you're very good at leveraging emotion, not only building the emotion, but also leveraging the logic side. And I think that's one thing where agents struggle, where they'll either be all emotion and and it's just kind of like they don't know where to pivot and there's not a lot of structure, or more likely in the probable cases, most agents come into this and try to logic sell. And we all know if you're trying to logic sell somebody, people don't buy based on logic. And
Right.
so how do you position those two, and what are a few track words, and how do you leverage that with a client to properly build the emotion and logic to tie in the sale and go for the close?
Yes. Well, first of all, shout out to this book I read when I was failing the test. It was called Jordan Belfort, the Way of the Wolf, the Straight Line Method. That really opened my mind on the psychological part of sales, right? The logic, the emotional. So if you're a new agent, put that on your list to read for sure. That'll definitely help you guys out in telesales. But with me being in the business 2 years, and I was always a student of the game, and I still am. I reach out to top recruiters, top producers, whatever I need to do to get to the next level. I really invest my time in reaching out to my mentors. And for the past 2 years, there's two things that I've seen no matter what stage of the game you're in, recruiting, building an agency, cracking the 50 days you paid all the way to 100. There's two things, two attributes that people have. The first one obviously is going to be the mental resilience, right? The not give up, get obsessed about wanting to continually succeed. But the second one is what I'll be talking about today is the communication skills for whatever stage of the game you're in, right? To me, those two things is what needs to be mastered, worked on consistently in the space to get you to the next level for whatever lane you're in. So what I'm going to break down for you guys today, and of course, if there's questions, put it in the chat or interrupt me if you guys have to, but write down three points for today. The first one, we're going to talk about tonality. The second one, we're going to talk about driving emotional engagement. And the third one is adjusting our verbal energy for impact, right? So let's talk about the tonality. So obviously, most of us in here is probably doing 100% telesales. So within the first seconds of the call, of that initial contact, using the proper tone, leveraging the emotional and logical part of the sale, and adjusting your tonality and energy verbally, that's going to create that emotional connection, which of course makes the prospect open their thoughts and they start sharing their thoughts, right? So with tonality, there's a kind of a standard I follow, a formula. If you guys were at the convention back in May, I believe, in Miami, we had Daniel G. And he talked about mostly think like a lion, speak like a lamb. Think like a lion, speak like a lamb. And like I said, this is kind of the formula I follow and train new agents on to kind of see where your tonality is at and what you need to work on. So let's talk about the lion mindset, right? Think like a lion, right? Believe every lead has a potential, right? Every lead is an opportunity, right? Assume their need, whether it's protecting their home, funeral and burial, retirement, family protection, being persistent on whatever the lead gives you. For example, for agents that are trained, that are in the business 90 days, I have them go through all the bullshit of the clients. You know, you get a client that wants to be a quick quoter. Yes, you may be wasting your time with them, but I want you to have that resilience and persistence your first 90 days to go through all of those rebuttals, figure it out. Use the proper objections or responses to those objections. So then by the time you're in the business 90 days, guys, you're going to be talking to a client that it's not the same client, but they're in the same position as maybe a client you messed up on that you couldn't sell. Well, now you have the experience to sell that client, or at least put your numbers in the favor where you have a chance. That resilience part, this is the easiest way to stay consistent, is to have that mental resilience, not giving up, right? And obviously, with the resilience part, we got to know our numbers. We got to know what inputs we need to get those results. So at the end of the day, that formula, whatever that needs to look like, right? How many dials does it take to book an appointment? How many dials does it take to hit a presentation, get a contact? How many presentations it takes to go through an application, et cetera, application into issue paid into deposits, right? You guys have to know your numbers, especially if you're new. And you got to view each objection, whatever the client's given you, you got to view it as an opportunity to demonstrate value, build rapport and credibility so you can move forward with the sales process. Now, with the LAM communication, I know this morning I was listening to Simon's training, great training, by the way, if he's on here, and he talked about smiling while speaking. Well, here's the thing. We're in telesales, so people don't get our body language over the phone. But if you work on your body language, like even right now, I'm using my hands, right? You can tell I'm passionate about what I'm saying, and you guys believe it, right? Same thing. You got to be passionate about the product. You got to believe in the product. But with your tone, you got to have a nice warm tone, right? 100% volume, so you can pronunciate things clearly. They understand what the objective is. Smile while you're at it too, right? Also with the LAM communication, not also do we need to have a good tone, but you guys got to listen actively. I had a new agent. He was with the office with me 2 weeks ago. Didn't make his first sale. Second week, didn't make a sale. Yesterday, he finally made a sale, but I talked with him on Sunday for like an hour. And I'm like, dude, I'm listening to your recordings on the phones. You are saying the right things, but you're not leveraging it. And what I meant by that was he's listening to these keywords. Oh, I need a quick quote, or, it's too expensive. What's the price, right? But he's not actively listening on what the actual concern is. And he just pulls a random objection out and a response, and it gets him nowhere. Every time a client speaks, give them time to talk, but really try to understand and actively listen. Does that make sense, guys? Like, hopefully that's making sense to you guys. Okay. Now, with the response, we need to have strategic response to bring them back into our sales process. And the way I look at it is there's a line of process, right? Whether you're running one call closes or booking appointments, initial contact to presentation, right? Or initial contact to book the appointment and run the presentation. Anytime a client hits you with an objection, they're veering off that line of your process. And a lot of new agents make mistakes where, okay, you let them go on that line too long, and then there's no point of return. You might as well hang up the phone, right? But when you notice the client hitting you with those objections, imagine that line, and your job as the agent is to use those responses to those objections to bring them back on that line of process. So just kind of imagine that line of process when you're on the phones. Third thing about the LAM communication, we want to frame the call as serving, not selling. Now, that's a hard lesson I had to learn. So when I was with the previous IMO we were with before Pinnacle, like I said, my story of starting up, dude, I was broke. My credit score was shit. I was in debt. I had like no money to my name. The crazy story, I'll share it with you guys. I didn't share this to a lot of people, but I'll share it with you guys. Whenever I did pass the test, the only money to my name, I was working with my dad as an electrician, so he paid me cash every week. And the only money to my name was $500 in cash. I went to the testing center, passed it. Bro, I thought life was looking up for me. My dumbass went to the ATM. I had to put the money in the bank to, pay my car bill, rent. Ate my money. Never seen it till a month later. And I was like, dude, what am I doing? I was like, I passed the test. I thought things would get better. So at that time, I had to humble myself. I had to ask my friends for money. I'm like, dude, I get paid in 2 weeks. I'll give it back to you. But I was, to say that story, I was so money hungry. I wasn't focused on serving the client. I was just putting through applications with America like crazy because that was the only that was the only company I knew how to write properly, right? And I got smacked with 20K in chargebacks 4 months later. So I learned real quick. I have to serve the client, know the needs, do things properly in the sales process, right? And of course, unless you have so just kind of how I frame the call. I kind of role play with Joan a little bit. So anytime I get the initial contact, I see they're interested, and I'm trying to go into the FI, right, the financial inventory sheet. I always want to make sure when I try to frame the call, I'm throwing in what they call pre-closes or soft closes. This one's one of my lines I use right off the bat. So, Jonah, today, what we'll go ahead and do is go over all the information about this mortgage protection. Okay. Now, Jonah, we're going to help you find what option makes sense to get approved for. You know, get that home and family protected. And unless you have any initial questions, I'll go ahead and break down what that protection does for you and the family and what we'll be doing together here in the next couple moments. When we start using different phrases, and there's tons of different pre-closes, soft closes, whatever you want to call it before you get into the financial inventory sheet, but you got to be laser focused as an agent, especially if you're new to the game, anywhere from 6 months and under. You got to learn how to frame that call. You got to know the client's needs, listen actively to understand their concerns. So at the end of the phone call, we're just giving them the solutions to their problem. Does that make sense? Anything about tonality, questions, guys? Want to make sure everything's making sense to you.
That was really good. That was really good. I took some some good mental notes on that. Let me ask you, Kelly, what are some ways that you would disarm the client if they have their guard up to build more trust and rapport with them?
Disarming meaning like they're coming out of the gate just swinging left and right.
Their wall is up. Maybe they're just not having it, whatever the case may be.
So obviously it's going to determine what type of injections they're throwing at me. So I'll use pricing as an example, right? So in the beginning of my calls, whether it's, right into the appointment, I want to get into the financial inventory sheet, I always have like an icebreaker. I ask them if they've been quoted in the past or try to get an approval. And that's kind of my icebreaker there. And depending on what they say, that's when I'll kind of figure out what wall they're throwing up so I can bring it down, right? So let's use pricing for an example. So let's say like they've been quoted pretty high in the past a year ago. So Jonah, I completely understand how you feel. Here's the good thing about the insurance companies and what I do. I'm an insurance broker. A lot of agents are captive. They work with one company and can only offer a handful of products and very limited pricing options. With me, I'm a broker. I represent A-rated insurance companies for the state of Florida, and they are allowing families to have starter plans. Now, what that means is, yes, the coverage, the payouts, benefits will still take care of your need, but you're able to customize that pricing specifically for your budget for this month. Does that make sense, Jonah? Boom, walls down. Then I'll hit them with the pre-close and then move on. So I really try to use vivid pictures, and even sometimes I'll use other clients as examples. Like, hey, a guy out in Atlanta yesterday said the same thing, and what he found makes sense. And then boom, I say the response, the proper response for whatever objection. So then they don't feel left out, and that actually builds a lot of credibility as well.
I want to stop you there because that's genius sales psychology, where it's you're letting the client know, hey, I completely understand. I hear you, John. Actually, I just had a client yesterday that told me the same thing, but what we found is, and then you go into it. So you're letting the client know that they're heard, and then you're relating with them, and then you're letting them know, hey, Greg was in the same situation as you, John. This is what Greg did. And so John's psychology is, he's like, it's the herd mentality, is everybody wants to be doing what everybody else is doing.
Yep.
That drops their guard, and now they're listening.
Yes. I've been able to crack the code on selling younger people just like that. I had one of my agents was listening to one of my recordings where this guy out of the gate, he was ready to hang up the phone. And I used the Phil Felt Found method, used one of the younger guys as examples that I sold last week. I didn't even have to go through the financial inventory sheet. We went straight to the application and got everything done in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's a very good technique to bring that wall of defense for sure. that Phil felt found. And
Yeah.
then, unless you have any other questions, Jonah, I can go ahead and break down kind of leveraging the emotional side of the sale, and we kind of wrap it up with that.
I got one thing I do close that out, and then I got a few questions
Okay.
I want to dig deeper in and pivot a little bit of a different direction.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about driving the emotional, or driving emotional engagement. First thing you probably noticed when I was kind of going through the scripts with Jonah was I was painting very vivid pictures. I'm using energetic language to describe these benefits very vividly. And of course, when you do that, like I said earlier, you start having compassion about the product. You start believing in the product, right? So, for example, instead of saying mortgage protection, Jonah will pay out to your family upon passing and, protect you while living. Okay, that's very dry. So let's paint it that picture so vividly. And this technique is called future pacing, where we paint the picture so clear the client sees themselves using the product and they see how it can help. So for example, Jonah, let's say yesterday, you walk into the doctor's office and the doctor says you have a diagnosis of cancer, heart attack, or maybe even a stroke. Now today you're in and out of hospitals, most likely unable to work. And Jonah, this is when that coverage comes into place. Upon those diagnoses, we'll file a claim. So the insurance companies pay out to you to take care of those medical bills, mortgage payments, whatever the needs are for you and your family. Okay. And upon you passing, this coverage will ensure that your family is protected for the home so they continue protecting that home in equity without paying out of pocket. Makes sense?
Makes sense.
So, yes, whenever you're describing things vividly, you may be a little more wordy. And honestly, when I came into the business, Holly was like, dude, you need to shut up. You're being too wordy. Now, obviously, as a new agent, 100%, I was just kind of going on rabbit trails. But as I gained more experience, I'm like, dude, if I can paint that picture so clear, that future pacing, that's already driving a lot of emotion because they're picturing themselves using the product. How much more better can you get from that, right? Second thing, anchor.
Kelly,
Yes.
can I add that?
Go
That's
ahead.
so important. And do you know what paints a clearer picture than anything else? Is sharing stories. And so a part of my sales process was just being vulnerable with clients and just being down to earth. So I would share the story about me personally, letting people know, hey, I've seen firsthand what that looked like. When I was 14, my mom, she passed away from colon cancer, had no life insurance. This is what it looked like financially for our family. So that's why I got into what I do. And that's why I'm passionate about helping families, because I want to make sure what happened in my family, you guys never have to go through that. And so when you're sharing a story with someone, you're the most neurologically connected to that person.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's
like
powerful.
if I was like, hey Kelly, dude, let me tell you about last weekend when we were on the boat, bro. You'll never believe what happened. Like you're already thinking, like your brain's already like, oh dude, now you're like listening. Versus if I just tell you facts, it's like, okay, those are cool, but stories sell. Stories are what's powerful and what evokes that emotion, allows you to really dig deep and connect with that client. So pretty much every single person on this call, 99% of us, we know somebody that's passed away. And whether it's a friend, family member, whatever the case may be, but share that. If they had life insurance for their family, perfect. That's great. Share about how that paid out, how that helped them out financially or what that looked like. Or, if they didn't, also share about that too. But I just want to hit on that point because stories are so powerful, and sharing different stories in your sales process where, if you don't have a story, it's just a matter of time before every single person, like if you've been doing this for any period of time, like the majority, like if you've been doing it for a year, more than likely you've had at least one death claim. So sharing the story, like sharing death claim stories with your clients, that's huge. Or if you haven't, maybe you haven't had a death claim yourself, share somebody else. Like, hey guys, hey, we had Kelly in the office and works at our office, and this is actually what happened not too long ago with one of his clients. This is what that looked like. You know, it's so when you, whether it's sharing a personal story, sharing a story with one of your clients, or leveraging somebody else's story, but every single one of us on this call should be sharing stories, because that's what's going to really bring the wall down with clients and allow them to emotionally buy into the process.
100%. 100%. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the next topic, anchoring pain points. Anchoring pain points. So, for example, you know, let's say you're going through the financial inventory sheet, and, you know, maybe the client mentions they had cancer in the past, right? But they're in remission, been cancer free for like 15 years, right? Or maybe some type of critical illness occurred, or to be honest, anything that our products can help them with or could have helped them with in the past. Leverage that and anchor that pain. I'll give you 2 examples. So yesterday, his name is Jonah Rawlings, the new agent that finally got his sale yesterday. He got on the phone with I was listening, I was shadowing him. It was like 8 o'clock last night. And he, right out of the gate, he asked the client that icebreaker question. Have you had coverage in the past, or you've been quoted, you try to get an approval? She came out of the gate emotional and started saying that her husband literally passed the past 5 days ago. And so she was going in the story on that, how that happened. It was cancer, all that stuff. And so I texted Jonah and I was like, anchor it. I told anchor it. And so in the most professional way, right? Not acting like a dick, right? Being professional, in the most professional way, he mentioned to her that now, Mary, if Bob had this protection in place, this is what it would have done. He used paint a perfect picture on how it would have helped her at least financially take care of finances on her own. But now her kids had to move in and help her. And that's what situation she's in now. And so he used that pain point, and again, the most professional, friendly way possible, and anchored that to the point she didn't give him any objections. At that point, it was a layover. She, as soon as she picked an option, she said her budget was $70. She picked a $101 option and gave him the banking right then and there. It was crazy. But the reason why that happened is because he anchored in that emotion right out of the gate. And he kept on anchoring it in when he was going over benefits, what the coverage does, the terminal illness riders, right? Another good technique you can use is anchoring it in the financial inventory sheet. So, for example, I had a 82-year-old lady out of Mississippi about 2 weeks ago, and she was diagnosed with cancer 15 years ago. And so, same thing, I wanted to anchor in that pain point. And so I told her, Mary, first of all, congratulations being that cancer. Way to go. I'm happy for you. And, you know, I asked a few other questions like, are you taking any preventatives right now? When did they take you off? And then I told her, I was like, now, whenever the doctor diagnosed you, Mary, if you don't mind me asking, what was your concern? Paying those medical bills? What are you going to do with the home? And then I just shut up and let her talk. I let her go. I let her talk for like 5 minutes. She was letting me know how she had to get a new job to just pay for those bills, pay for the chemo, things like that. She had to move out of her previous home, sell it to downgrade, right? Boom. I anchored that pain and let her know, well, Mary, if you would have had this coverage, if we would have spoke 16 years ago, got you set up at a good rate and benefits, can you see how this coverage would have helped you out? She was like, absolutely. Boom. Move forward with the sales process, broke the wall of defense, anchored the emotion, and I leveraged it. That's how we leverage that emotional connections and build that rapport. Now, obviously, you can say that, you can use those techniques, but if you guys don't adjust your energy or passion whenever you hit these pain points, it's going to come across very wrong. I remember the first time I tried it. I had a client pissed at me why I was asking that. None of your business, right? All that good stuff. And she hung up the phone. And I was like, oh man, I need to work on that one. So the next one and the last topic I'll speak on, and we can kind of reiterate a couple things and answer any questions. Adjusting your verbal energy for impact. So even when I told her congratulations, I was happy for her. I had a smile on my face, right? But then whenever I asked Mary, now Mary, I'll be honest, if you allow me to ask, whenever the doctor mentioned that diagnosis, what was your concern? Taking care of those medical bills, or what's next for the home? How could you handle things properly? And then I just shut up and listen. But if you notice my tonality, guys, I went from happy, very, very appreciative that she beat the cancer, but then boom, I lowered my tone, a very concerned voice, but empathetic at the same time. And obviously that does take experience to build that up. I don't sound like I sounded 2 years ago when I first got on the phones, right? But if you guys laser focus yourself on the client communication skills, use these techniques, and the way I have my agents do it, you guys have an iPhone, you can record your calls. All my appointments are recorded. The client can hear it. It's all compliant, right? And I listen to my agents recordings so I can listen to their tone, listen to their communication skills. That's a good tip. If you guys do want coachability on that, that's what I do with my people. But be lasered focused on that client communication skill. And I mean, Jonah, like same thing for you, right? When you're got a big whale or you're trying to sell the vision, you're not selling the product right now. You're selling the vision. I guarantee you when you're on the phones with potential prospects, you're focused on that communication skill and you develop that. So there's so many different levels to the game in this space, and it's a beautiful thing. But the key thing for me and what I have my people focus on is that client communication skill, or just communication skill in general. And that's what you can really focus on and master to get you to the next level. But that's all I got there, Jonah.
That was well said. That was well said. And let me ask you this, Kelly, because
Yeah.
it's very easy to bring out the emotion, paint that picture, connect with them empathetically when it's a doom and gloom situation. But let's say John's making 20 grand a month, Mary's making 15. Maybe they already have 1 or 2 life insurance policies, and they wouldn't be in a tough financial situation. If any of them happen, they'd be fine. They got enough assets, they got enough savings. How are you positioning those type of closes?
So people on low incomes, but they have insurance in place.
No, on high incomes.
High incomes.
Like, it's not doom and gloom. They're making 15, 20 grand a month. They got assets, they got savings. They'd be good. How are you painting and building the why and selling those type of clients?
Okay. First of all, I'm looking at the health, because first thing that comes to my brain is an index universal life policy, right?
Yep.
So
Let's
if they are
qualify for an IUL, let's say they're healthy.
okay, let's say they qualify for an IUL. So I'm gonna just kind of role play it with you, Jonah. So hold on, I got Siri talking in my ear. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So at that point, hold on, I can't. Okay, there we go. We're good. So at that point, I'm completely transparent with them. So once we're done with the financial inventory, she'll be like, okay, Jonah and Mary, when I'm looking at your situation, you guys are set up. I'm glad you guys got life insurance in place a while back. You know, it's most likely cheaper from what I'm looking at too. Now, my biggest concern, Jonah and Mary, is if anything were to happen, your life insurance is going to take care of funeral and burial, right? Okay, understood. Now, if anything were to happen to your income, is there anything in place that you can have to help supplement it? And depending on their answer, if they say no, okay, understood.
Let's say we got savings.
Hold on, I can't hear you for some reason. Give me a second, bro. My bad.
Very good.
Okay, say something, Jonah.
Let's say they have savings.
Bro, I lost you. Give me a minute.
Uh-oh. Can everybody else hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Check.
Yeah.
Both of you.
Okay, I think I got you now.
Can you hear me now?
We're good. Sorry about that. Technical
So-
difficulties.
Let's say, Kelly, you asked me and I'm like, yeah, we got enough in savings to cover it. I'm making, I'm the wife. I'm making 15K a month. Mortgage is 6,000. I got enough to cover the bills.
Understood. Well, Jonah, with this policy I have in mind for you guys, because of course, again, you guys are in a great situation, but there is a product that we have in place for families in your guys' situation. So I get you have the savings. Now, do you really want your wife using those savings to just pay the mortgage? Or would you rather want her to keep that as a financial legacy or as an I love you gift when you're gone?
Gabe said, why would you want to spend your hard-earned savings rather than having insurance pay for it? Yeah. Leveraging that. For me, because I used to dread clients that were in a great spot. And it used to be my least favorite type of clients to talk to because they'd be like, oh, we'd be fine. Yeah, we could pay off the house cash if we wanted to. We got enough saved up. I don't even know why we even have the mortgage to begin. Like, it's like, we're good. And so those clients, like I got so frustrated with those clients. And I got to the point where those turned into my favorite type of appointments. And Felix is really good at those appointments too, where that's where Felix, he's leveraging because it's not just because they're making great money doesn't they need life insurance. So like that's where Felix gets a lot of his 1,000, 2,000. Like he just had an IUL that was a $60,000 annual premium he's getting paid on. So, but when I would sit down with clients like that, how I would position it was I would say, first of all, you want to butter them up, make them feel good about themselves. So I'd be like, hey, Kelly. So, I mean, it looks like looking at the situation here, looks like you've done a great job of setting yourself up well financially, better than the majority of my clients I sit down with, to be honest with you. So I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way we can't even help you guys here. It looks like Kelly, you really don't need this. And I love dropping that line because it completely throws them off guard. Like they almost stutter. They're like, well, yeah, because they're expecting me to say the exact opposite, where it's like, oh, you need this because this is this. So I'm like, you guys really don't need this. They're like, well, sure. It's like they don't know what to say, but it lowers the sales guard is why I say that. And then I dig into it. So I'm like, all right, guys, will correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at the situation here, it's not necessarily out of necessity that you guys need this. Because let's be honest, if something happened to John tomorrow, Mary, it looks like you'd be fine. You guys have enough income and assets and savings. I'm assuming the main reason you guys had taken this call and you were looking into the coverage today was not a necessity, but more so to strengthen the financial position and put something together to protect between now and when you go to retire. Would that be a fair assumption? And I'm nodding my head like crazy. At 100% of the time, every single time I've said that, I have gotten a yes. Because people are more afraid of something jeopardizing their retirement than they are of passing away. Because their retirement, that's the golden years. Like that's where they've worked their entire life for. And so I always ask, like, if I know they're in a good financial spot in the financial inventory, I'm always writing that down and figuring out, all right, I ask them, when do you plan on retiring? And so let's say hypothetically John, he's 50 years old, wants to retire by 65. Be like, all right, John. So, I mean, really looking at this here, the main goal of what we're looking to do is put protection in place to protect you over the next 15 years between now and when you go to retire. Am I on the right track here? And then typically they say yes and be like, okay, so and then I ask questions and I figure out, does cash value and permanent coverage make more sense? Or or are they just looking for the max amount of coverage for the cheapest option? Because for those type of clients, it would always either be a 10 or a 15-year term or be an IUL. So you always want to go the IUL route and push in the IUL route. But sometimes, like if they have assets and investments and savings, like dude, sometimes a cheap 10, 15-year term for a high face amount when they're a bit older, sometimes that makes sense too. So really just figuring out where they're at and then positioning the living benefits where it's, all right, John, well, really the only thing that would jeopardize between now and when you do go to retire is if, God forbid, you weren't able to work, you had a long-term disability, God forbid, cancer, heart attack, stroke, you get put into a long-term care facility. Any of those situations is we want to make sure that that's protected and you're not forced to liquidate your savings or dip into any of your assets in that situation. So that way your retirement is secure and protected. And we're able to leverage the insurance money, the insurance company's money, and not your own. Am I on the right track? And then typically that's how you're able to, that's how I found I'm able to convert those clients that are making a higher income.
Yeah, those high income earners love to see their money do something. So if they're healthy, it's every time. IUL every time.
100%. 100%. So Kelly,
Yes,
share
sir.
with us about I want to go into just your inputs. What are some non-negotiable daily inputs that you have set in place for yourself?
I start work at 7
7
a.m. Yep. Now I'm on the phones at 8. So obviously with my workout schedule, I'm 2 days on, rest day, 2 days on. That's what my coach has me on. And obviously I'm doing cardio too. So if I need to knock out my cardio or workout, I'll do it before that 7 a.m. And then from 7 a.m. to 8, that's when I'll do my, not really meditation. I'll read my Bible, read a chapter, meditate on it, pray for the day, pray for my people. And then I will hop on Instagram, respond back to DMs, get today set up, talk to my dialers, talk to my staff, get things going. ADMs, me and my team's on Discord, ripping. So that's a non-negotiable as well. And then another non-negotiable I have, if I don't hit my personal production goal for the week, my ass on Saturday is running appointments, running dials, trying to go from one call closes from pretty much 8 a.m. to about 5 p.m. on Saturdays. And if I have to book an appointment on Sunday, I'll do it. So if I'm ever behind on my personal production goal, I'm making sure I'm up in my inputs no matter what. But of course, on Saturdays are kind of days for me where I do trainings, get things prepped as well.
What is your non-negotiable production goal?
Non-negotiable is 15,000 AP.
Man, that's so powerful because I see agents where they're like, they I have me or Claudia or their mentor or whoever, like we set these goals for what they want to do for the week on our one-on-one calls, but
Right.
then they have that goal and they're like, oh well, shoot, I didn't hit my goal. All right, hopefully next week. It's like, no, bro. It's like, what's your punishment going to be if you don't hit that goal?
Yeah.
Because rewards are powerful, and I like rewarding positive behavior and hitting your goals, and that's important. I'm all for that, but for a lot of people, a punishment is more powerful. It's kind of like, Kelly, if I called you and I was like, people respond more to negativity than they do positivity. So it's like, why is the news 90% negative? Because that's what people tune into. Like, Kelly, if I was your financial advisor and I called you at 2 a.m. and I said, hey, bro, dude, I got an opportunity where you can make an additional 20% in your portfolio right now. You would tell me, you're like, Jonah, why the heck are you calling me at 2 in the morning? Like, you probably get a different financial advisor. But if I called you at 2 a.m. and I was like, Kelly, dude, the market is gonna tank. We gotta reallocate your positions and we gotta pull money out right now, or else you're gonna lose 20% of your portfolio. You're like, oh shit, dude, thank you so much for calling me. You're the man. So people respond more to Nick. So think about, the reason I say that is for everybody on this call, set goals for yourself, but also set a punishment for, all right, dude, well, if I don't hit my goal, I'm working on Saturdays. or I'm dialing on Sundays, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, whatever the case may be, to make that non-negotiable for you in order to hit that. That's important.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then last question for you, and then we can open up for any questions for the last couple of minutes. But because you have multiple dialers, which quite a few of our guys on our team are getting dialers now as well. So how many dialers or how many appointments a day are your dialers booking on your calendar?
Yeah, so I got 2 dialers now. They only dial for me currently. Both of them work 25 hours a week. So combined, they're like 1 dialer. They'll book me about 5 every day. 5 every day. Yes, American dialers.
5
Nice
appointments a day?
Southern accents.
So you're running five appointments total?
No, they book. Both of them book 5 every day. So total of 10. So
10 appointments.
They're scheduling 10 every day
Cool.
as a team. Yeah.
So your non-negotiables is, hey, I'm having 10 pre-booked appointments on my calendar. Out of those 10 appointments, how many of those are showing typically?
So our show ratios right now for the past 2 months been sitting at about a 65
That's
to 70.
phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
And so you're sitting anywhere from 6 to 7 appointments. Out of those 6 to 7 you're sitting, how many of those are you closing?
I'm closing, if I'm presenting to 5 of them, I'm closing 3.
Fire. I love that. Okay. So for the agents that are sitting on here where they're thinking that's really cool, but I don't have a dialer. Let me ask you, Kelly, when you didn't have a dialer before you could afford one and you were dialing and one call closing, what was your non-negotiable for presentations every day? Simply dialing the phones yourself.
I always had, for me, I always shoot high because if I get close to it, I look back, I'm like, damn, I did a lot, right? So for me, it was 5 presentations every day, which is a lot. That's a lot. So that's what I strive for every day. Now, did I hit that all the time? No. But I look back and I'm like, oh, dude, I did 3 or 4, close 2. I still won, right? I may miss the mark, but at least I'm making something happen that day. So 5 presentations was always my goal.
Did you have a bare minimum of like, I ain't getting up from my chair until I get this many presentations?
Yeah, dude. 2. If I only did 2 presentations in a day, bro, I'll be pissed. So pissed.
Yeah.
Now it's sit my ass down and keep on dialing.
That's a good goal. That's a good goal. All right. Well, we only have a couple minutes of this call. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. But any questions anybody has, we got time for a couple questions. So feel free to unmute or drop them in the chat.
How much do I spend on my dialers? I have a performance base. I give them a base pay, pretty much 16 an hour. And then depending on their show rate, not show rate, but how many appointments show up and pick up whenever it's their appointment time, I have a bonus tier. So like 3 appointments show up in that week, right? $30 bonus. 5 appointments show up, $50 bonus, and it goes up as well.
So you're paying them $16 an hour plus bonus.
Correct.
So
So it's performance based. So then they're actually striving to get better, which helps my life a lot easier.
Yeah. So you're paying your dialers well.
Yeah.
Which what I've learned, there's certain things. I was just on the phone with my CPA and we were going over a couple of different investments, and he's like, Jonah, there's certain things in life you just can't cheap out on. And I was like, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Another question. We got time. What's your lead spend on a monthly basis?
We spend so a week it's 2,300.
2,300 a week.
So about 9,200
9,200 a month.
a month. Yes, sir.
That's a healthy lead spend. Last question for you, and then we'll get everybody out of here.
Yes, sir.
What's one of your favorite questions to dig deep and build the why and get below that, just a surface level answer from the client?
Yeah. I'll give 2 answers to that. So for digital leads, I asked them, so Jonah, I see here you put Claudia Lewis as your spouse and beneficiary. Now I know you filled out that form on our Facebook ad. What's your biggest concern about looking into this coverage?
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Figured I'd look into it.
I got you. Since you put your wife as the beneficiary, are you concerned about when you pass that she's unable to take care of the home?
Yeah, I figured it'd be nice to see what it looks like to have the home taken care of.
Okay, understood.
Can I get a
So
quote?
with the mortgage protection, and then boom, I break down exactly what it does. Ask him if he's familiar with it. But I like having that line with digital leads to like automatically figure out like why you want to talk to me, or why did you
Yep.
book out the appointment, or why did you pick up, right? And then for aged mailers, so for aged mailers mortgage protection, it's that one that I hit Jonah with. If they're familiar with the coverage, try to get an approval. Have they been quoted? Because whenever I hit them with that line, whatever story they're about to tell me, they're pretty much going to tell me how to sell them, right? Oh, it's quoted like $250 a month. Oh, I can't get the approval. This is my first time, right? So those are my two icebreakers kind of across the board.
That's good. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, but I'm assuming you're pretty protective of your time too. So you're not
Yes.
if they're not serious, you're not wasting your time
Oh yeah.
trying to close them or build the Y
I'll be like, you're good to go, Jonah. Thank you.
Yep.
Let him go.
and just hanging up the phone.
Yep.
But the reason you're able to do that is because you got the right lead spend, you got the right activity. So you can be
I
more
got
patient
enough.
time and only spend your time on people that are actually serious and want your help.
And that's when it gets fun.
And that's when it gets fun.
That's when it gets
And,
fun.
Well, what a good note to end on. Kelly, thank you for hopping on the call.
Yes, sir.
Morning to the troops.
Felix.
Hang up. Oh, that's
We're
hang up
gonna
on them before they hang up on you.
Come on now. Let's go.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys
All
kill
right.
it this
God bless
week.
everybody.